Let's talk about our first game of the day now, which is going to be a banger. It's going to be TSM versus Spacestation Gaming. And this is going to be a fight for a seeding mostly, but it's still a battle between our top two teams. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, you do want to be first in NA. There is some bragging rights with that. Typically this year, it's always gone to Astralis, right? They've won both stages 1 and 2. Yep. We will have a new stage champion this time around. TSM are a little bit higher on the standings right now, so not every win is going to catapult SSG up to the very top. If it's like 8-7 Spacestation, they're still going to be stuck in 7th. In 2nd. However, they still look very strong here against their opponents, TSM. And it would be a statement going into the major to beat out your rivals, TSM, to actually claim that top spot.
This was one of those rivalries that I remember back in 2020, 2021. In those days, this was the game everyone was always hyped for because it was always so close. These guys were bona fide top 4. And it's been a while since we can say both of them are now effectively top 4 squads, because even at the back end of stage 3 of last year, SSG qualified for the first edition of the Sweden major and TSM got edged out. They were 5th, they did not go. Now this is the kind of thing where the whole rivalry feels like it's back up to the status where it needs to be. And for SSG, if they get a regulation victory over TSM here, it's first place, guaranteed. If they manage to get any win, it's going to be a lot better for them, but then you might have to count round differential in there. But for it to be this team, this Space Station roster, who had struggles for 2 stages out of the year, came close to making it back in stage 1, then decided they needed both a mental and an in-game overhaul, grabbed Yeti, and to see them do this so quickly makes you wonder how much faster they could have gone back in if they realized what their problems were earlier.
Talk about what Spacestation does right, and the big thing for them has been their entry. 62% on opening picks, by far the best we have in the league. That comes mostly from their new pickup Snake, who's 15-5 overall on entry engagements, 3rd best in the league that we have here in the NAL. Bolo and Merc also contributing, being +5, +4 respectively, and they've really been a strong duo to come through here. I think Bolo, Snake particularly, being a roaming combo, have done so well for TSM on the defense. They've been able to pair up, waste a ton of time, and get those entries, which have really pushed TSM to be that top team that we now see them as.
Exactly. And Space Station Gaming here on our screen. Like, I'm excited about, well, hey, it's good to learn about TSM as well. We can talk about them too. But, you know, Space Station, though, I have a bit of a soft spot for Space Station. First of all, as a former graphic designer, I think their logo is fantastic. Secondly, the 2020 SI, when they were fighting to win that one, was actually the first Rainbow Six event that I really watched.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. I made some tweets about it. A Canadian reached out, and it was. I talked to their coach a little bit at the time, and it was really fun watching that. I was like, oh, Rainbow Six is actually a really cool game. And so I'm excited to see Space Station doing well, right? It's been a rough year, but here they are at the end of it. The Yeti effect has come in, I suppose.
Yeah, it has.
And they're looking like a strong competitor for the major.
They're doing fantastic, especially on defense. They are ranked #1 in the league. They obviously had that crazy 6-0 half against Beast Coast when they shut them out in that game from just last week. But the thing about this game is proving how well they're going to be able to do on attack. They're currently ranked 6th in attack of anybody in the league, which is actually immediately with the league average. They are the definition of average on attack when it comes to what their win rate percentage is. On defense, they can rely on it, and they've proven that they are bank demons. So if we end up going there, maybe it will be a repeat of some of the things that we've seen so far.
I love how Yeti is apparently already 2 energy drinks, and I'm assuming a large
oh my God.
shake today.
Yeah.
It's about 10:45. No, it's about 11 a.m. or so.
Yep.
Yeah, 1 massive protein shake, 2 energy drinks in. Where does his energy come from, though? I just don't know.
Well, I think we see it. I think we see it in the server how it comes out. And Jacob, to your point about the attacking win rates and defending win rates from Space Station, I got some numbers to pull up and kind of compare, because whilst Space Station have been kind of mid on attack, when you actually take a look at it, recently they have been absolutely dominant on their attacking percentage. Despite the fact that it's only 46%, they haven't lost an attacking round in their last 3 games in a row. They've simply been starting on defense and winning so dominantly on defensive side. They've only had to play 6 attacking rounds throughout those last 3 games. So despite the fact their attacking percentage isn't necessarily where you want it to be, it still looks very good. You've got TSM versus Space Station, of course, attacking team #1 versus defending team #1. These 2 squads have been kind of battling it out for a lot of these stats, going back and forth since the very beginning. The other plant that I really want, or the other stat I wanted to point out here, were the plants. 16 plants from SSG. A lot of that coming in from Bosco. It's been very, very impressive coming in from them. So it's nice to see SSG kind of stacking up there on attacking stat, even if their overall attack percentage isn't that high.
Well, let's flip things a little bit and talk about TSM now as well. So TSM coming into this one with a record of 6-2, no overtime at all for the squad here in Stage 3. They're either winning it in regulation or they're losing it in regulation. Luckily for them, they are doing a lot more winning than losing. And you just can't say enough about Snake and Gasher coming onto this squad. They breathed new life into it. The team just has looked so good this stage.
They are 10 points above the average on attack, which is the exact opposite of what we can see from SSG. Overall, the league has not been one that's been very favorable to teams that are attacking. If the average is only 46%, then for TSM to be at 56 is honestly impressive given how the average is usually skewed a little bit lower than where they're currently at. But they are also phenomenal on defense. They're still 7 points above the average there, and they've been able to integrate both of the rookies on this stage with a speed and efficiency I think a lot of people doubted for a system that is as rigorous as TSM's is known to be. These guys obviously have a lot of pressure from still wanting to prove that they belong in the worldwide spotlight. They've already qualified for that major, which means I'd certainly hope some of that pressure is taken off their backs, but they want the best seeding they can get. They want to see if they can't face some of the, I guess, mid-table teams that may be going to the major. If they get first seed, they will lock in statistically better opponents, and we've seen some of the other regions in the way that what their mid-table for this upcoming major is going to look like, and these guys are going to need all of the boost they can get against teams that may not be 100% on their A game.
I think what's really impressive about TSM when you watch them is just how fast they take space. You know, you'd watch this team actually push for a round, and when they're on attack especially, they will just dominate the map. They'll get in very, very fast. Gasher, you know, we've talked about plants for Spacestation, also has been on his game when it comes to the plants situation. He's got 8 plants so far, the 4th most in the league, and I think the cover and the post plant that TSM provide him is really what pushes their attacking percentage up over some of the other teams, including Spacestation, that we've seen so far. So often they've got really good coverage, Achieve being a key player. They're focusing in on the Overwatch. I think we've seen a little bit of struggles when it comes to the executes for TSM. That was most notable against Xset, but that's about it. When you look at this team's attacks, they look very, very sharp.
Absolutely. Well, let's find out where the map is going to be played. It's time for the map vetoes.
Start off with a border ban and an Oregon ban. Oregon, the map of these two teams played back in Stage 1. SSG have not won it since. 3-game losing streak coming in from them. Skyscraper and Villa, 2 maps that neither team really enjoy playing, so we weren't likely to see either of them. And then Clubhouse coming through. Kind of an interesting ban from TSM. They've won this map a lot this year, including over Spacestation back in Stage 2, but given SSG's dominance last week over Beast Coast, they're gonna take it out and leave us with just 3.
Jesse, I think we're doing it. I think we're going there. It's still up.
Are we going there?
The map with the B in the title is still there. No, it's not Border. That one's already gone. No Chalet. We've only got 1 left. We have to be going to Bank. There's no way we're not going to Bank. Both teams love this map. We are.
Bank.
So look at this from this perspective here. Both teams have played this a combined 3 times this year. They're both undefeated. Neither one of them have lost it, and they've been crushing victories in their favor. TSM obviously had that crazy win over the Sonics that was, what, 7-1, and suddenly Sonics could not get into the building, and both times that we've seen Spacestation play this map, it's been very much the same thing. The only thing about this that might be a problem, Spacestation start on attack, and we've been wondering whether, because they've not won or lost an attack in the past couple of games, if it means they can really get on an attacking streak, because they've been so well on defense to start maps off. So I'm curious if they can keep this kind of thing going, or does TSM just have enough in the bag that they can get out to an early advantage, which puts TSM in a hole that they have to climb out of again. It's going to be interesting, but I think this map is incredibly even both ways.
You know, before we get into it too, I want to kind of set the stage here too. Is that like a lot of people might look at this and they're like, oh, well, it's just like a battle for #1 in the NAL and all that kind of stuff. But let's talk for a minute about how important having that first seed going to the Sweden major can be.
I mean, you avoid a lot of the top squads from other regions that you may not want to play against, right? I mean, Rogue coming in looking very strong in EUL right now. You probably don't want them in your group. There's a lot of strong Brazilians as well. Their seeding will get determined based on the Copa Elite 6, so that's obviously a very scary prospect. And of course, APAC North, APAC South, you've definitely got some scary teams there as well. So being able to play against those kind of 4th seeds, those 3rd seeds will be really important. If you end up just like a 2nd seed, you're going to have kind of one of those power teams in your group. So you definitely don't want to miss out if you've got a chance for that first seed here in NAL.
Problem is, W7M is probably going to get first seed anyway. I have a feeling they're going to take Copa Elite 6. I think the possibility is there.
It's very open.
Even with Liquid and FaZe doing as well as they did at the very back end of the year to make sure that they got those positions, it's still going to be a slog when they get back into a best-of-3 format. And I do think W7M, now that they've been to 2 consecutive majors, they've had a little bit of BO3 like performance now because they made the semifinals at Berlin. There's a chance that they can actually go higher. So for TSM and SSG, if they can completely avoid the W7M monster, the Win 7 major that we've been touting this entire year, and hopefully they're actually going to be able to get there, TSM does not want to face them. So first place, lock it in now, don't concern yourselves with it later.
Yeah, there's also kind of the matter of like who's going to be the comeback king of the NAL, right? TSM and Spacestation both kind of having rough years. At the very end of it, who is going to be the dominant team, right?
They're both still trying to lock in SI. Like there's still a very fringe chance
that
like TSM can do it.
TSM has like 2% chance too.
True.
It's like I think SSG is 13, so it's
SSG's not bad.
SSG's not terrible.
They basically need, I think it's top 2 is approximately what they need. They need to make finals, but it will depend on the other results, of course. So I know SSG, like that is their main goal. They're really shooting for SI. So it doesn't stop here, just getting to the major.
That's right. Well, it's time to talk predictions. We've broken this one down about as much as we possibly can. So the question is, what do our 2 casters think? First of all, Pengu and Taro, welcome. Who's going to take this one?
Whose match actually has this is some pretty big significance here, right?
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, with the way they played this season, I gotta go with Spacestation.
I got to.
I
I think they've improved every single Playday so far, and they look shaky in the beginning, but now at the end, and they look like one of the best, if not possibly the best team here in Stage 3, so Spacestation, all the way.
Yeti and finishing first in the NAL.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, we might see it. 2 votes for Spacestation. Our analysts. We'll check back into their casters in a moment when the game begins, but for now, Jacob, Jesse, who wants to go first?
There's 2 small factors about this.
Sure.
I'll take it first. The first is it's bank, but it's a map that I think favors both teams, so there's not a decided advantage either way.
Sure.
It comes down to who started on attack, which for me is Spacestation. TSM, the best attacking team in the league, they're going to get a phenomenal advantage starting on defense, which they're already great at. So if Spacestation were able to get out to a really crazy lead on attack and start off on a streak, then I think that might put TSM a little bit in the hot seat to figure out how they want to find a method of responding. But because the map itself is like so dead even, if if Spacestation cannot get like 4 rounds or maybe even 5 in this one, it's going to mean TSM have all the space that they need given how they've played the stage to come back. So I'm going to give it to TSM, but it's like a 51-49 advantage. It's very, very close.
I'm going to use your same logic. I'm going to use it against you, Jake. Because while Spacestation are starting, of course, on attack, they haven't lost an attacking round in 3 games. And the sample size is kind of small. They're only 6 rounds. But still, it feels like their low percentage attacking win rate is mostly a factor of their earlier matches where they had a lot of stuff to figure out. I think they've solved those problems. For me, SSG is the complete package, so I'm going to go with Spacestation to get first place in the NAL.
Yep, that's right. Well,
You're calling a regulation win is what you're calling.
Yeah, I'm calling regulation.
I've just received word that there is apparently a potential PC issue with one of the players, so we're going to take a little bit more time with the predictions here. But that gives us time to really kind of like milk the coin flip, right? Again, like let me reintroduce it. It's the final day. We're going to take a look at overall coin sets at the end of the day. I don't know what they are yet, but I've been told they're very interesting. So we'll see how it goes.
Has somebody been tracking those for you in the back the whole time?
Yeah,
like,
of course they have.
Actually got that? I thought you were doing it is the point, yeah.
I was, but I'm not good at it. We have people who are much more organized than me who are doing a much better job of handling this. But in case you're just joining us here on the last day of the NAL, I've been flipping this coin for every single match this year. Of course, to find out if our casters and analysts can be better than a coin flip, we've got an 1884 Morgan silver dollar from the United States here that we've been flipping. In this case, heads will be Spacestation Gaming, tails will be TSM. I've been going by the graphic. Let's flip it. A big, healthy, tall flip. Yeah, it's the last day, you know? Yeah, all right. Let's see what it is. Ooh, it's heads. All right, the coin is voting for Spacestation Gaming here. The coin believes in the Yeti effect as well, apparently.
See, I just want to point something out. Jesse is down here in the 40 percentile, which is not somewhere you want a professional analyst to be. You want it to be like above the coin. You want to see if you can't do that. So all I'm saying is, Jesse, there's only 5 games left.
Yeah, and it looks like you're about to drop down even farther, Jacob. See, it's the comeback run.
I don't know about that.
I
think sometimes you got to take risks in order to get to where you want to go, because if I'm right on this, all you do is continue to plummet, and you're right there in line with the coin still.
Hey, vote says TSM as well, so at least Jacob's not totally alone in this. Jacob, though, I feel like you've got a little bit of a goldfish brain going on there. Do you remember previous stages?
No.
Percentage results?
No.
We'll probably take a look at it.
Actually,
later.
I do remember the one time that I got 75% in one stage and Monty handed me a laptop in Mexico. That one I remember.
All right.
That wasn't one stage.
That
It's always
major,
nice being
wasn't it?
handed a laptop. Yeah. Well, let's see what our community poll is here going to this one. What do you have to think about on Twitter as we get ready for our first game of the day? Who's more likely to beat Europeans at the major, Space Station or TSM?
I like that.
What do you think?
It's European, so it's not saying much.
They're literally
they,
major champions.
They won the last major. Like what?
Okay, after stage one, we could be a little bit
I can
cocky,
still be
but-
that
We lost
way.
a bit of
I
our
can still
smugness
be that
after
way.
the-
Yeah, I don't know.
3 of our 4 teams did get
But there were
grouped.
There were 2 European teams in Berlin. It was Rogue and Wolves, right? Or were there 3?
No, G2 made playoffs as well.
Oh, G2. Oh, yeah, but G2 also is G2 and does G2 things, which makes perfect sense.
Lost to the major champs.
Well,
Scary region.
We also had
I'm
one of these
afraid.
go to the semifinals.
Well-
Xnet should have beaten Rogue in that game. I'll still stand by that.
it is what it
didn't.
is. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the first game of the day of the last day of NAL begins. It's going to be TSM versus Space Station Gaming. Don't go anywhere. Things get started right after this.
Dollars coming, let me see it. On a mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Ask for it, you receive.
Folks, it's the final day of the North American League this year. Stage 3.
Oh boy.
Lady number 9, final day. We decided to wear our best matching browns.
That we did. Some light
And then white to black.
yes.
We're deliberately contrasting. I'm Intero. This is Pengu. We're starting off with a matchup for first place. TSM versus Space Station Gaming. And TSM is actually in first place right now.
Yes. Currently they are.
But SSG wants to knock them off. And SSG's been mighty hot as of late. Space Station made their own roster moves during the off-season, as did TSM. Both of these teams dropping at least one player. Space Station, well, they said goodbye to Skies. Was not the most rosy departure. if you know what I mean. But they picked up Yeti, and he has looked really, really good, Nick. Yeti has actually been one of the standout performers, one of the highest rated players in Spacestation, on Spacestation, and the third highest rated player in the entire North American League. Let's focus on Yeti a bit before we move over to TSM, because it's Spacestation who happens to be on your screen at this very moment. Yeti's stats on the Sonics, his former team, not the best. Consistently towards the bottom with Super, but I mean, when you've got a team like Grixer, Kansan, and Rexen on it, there's not a lot of room for Yido Benito, Yido Cheeto, whatever you want to call him. He's gone by all these weird names. If you've ever watched him play, he goes by all those. He used to go by those weird names on Twitter and in game. Either way, Yeti, a 1.20 rating, a plus 20 KD, plus 12 on entry, a cost of 74%. That means that Yeti is the third highest rating, the fifth highest KD, the third highest entry, actually tied for second highest entry.
Okay.
And the third highest cost in the league. The only other player on the team who's remotely close is Fultz, fifth in rating. Bosco leads the way in plans. This Space Station team, extremely deep. Let's talk about them a bit before we move to TSM.
Yeah, so basically Space Station Gaming, they've had a phenomenal run so far. They had a shaky start, you know, things didn't really work out the way everybody envisioned in the beginning. And I myself also thought, how long will it take for this squad to really show up to their true form or their previous form that we saw, for example, when they won Invitationals back in the day, where they really show up in the plant department, playing around the objective, clutching out crucial rounds, and also just all the members in general in Space Station showing up when it matters the most. And when Yeti got brought on, a lot of people said he was going to be like a yes man, good vibes, happy, you know, happy things in the team, really keeping the spirits high when they're losing rounds. And if you watch Space Station's comms video on their YouTube channel, you can tell that even members that in the past has been known to have a hard time dealing with being behind in rounds, even these players, they're now showing up saying, one more boys, discipline. If we go round by round, eventually we can go to OT, we can win. What has Space Station done so far? 2 times in this stage. They've made a comeback basically because their mental is kept high and they stay focused on the objective ahead of them. Also look at Poge and the coach. Beautiful.
I mean, we're wearing suits. Poge wearing a suit. We call it Suit Up Sunday because it feels like Championship Sunday here in the North American League. Am I right? Even though it's Wednesday. Ignore me. I was just trying to fit it in. So Space Station, obviously, as a team, outperforming previous results. As people will recall, Space Station was absent from the 2 previous majors and had what I would say, and I'm sure they would tell you as well, a disappointing finish at the 6 Invitational back in Sweden to start the year. They have qualified. They are one of 2 teams. The other matchup coming up next is going to be Sonics versus Mirage. Both of those teams are playing each other, and they are both currently sitting in 3rd and 4th place. But let's look at the opponents of Space Station because they're on your screen right now. TSM, they lead the way with 6 wins in regulation, 2 losses in regulation. They've been getting things done. In terms of individual player stats, Merc has been the standout performer. He sits in 4th place in terms of ratings, sandwiched beautifully between Yeti and Fultz. Though both Merc and Fultz are technically tied in rating, Merc is ahead. I don't know why, because technically, alphabetically, Fultz.
It's just better.
Fultz should be, but I don't really know how it works. Merc is also 3rd in KD at plus 22, and it's Gasher with the highest cost and the most clutches of anybody in the league. Not bad for a rookie. Gasher and Snake came onto this TSM squad after the World Championship winning TSM decided that after 2 miserable stages of the NAL, they didn't anymore want to continue with their rosters. They dropped Gio, he went over to the Sonics. They dropped Chala, he seemingly retired. I don't know if that was
temporary retirement.
He's taking a timeout.
He's showing.
But this new look of TSM, pretty good, I gotta say. And it's funny because we started the year with TSM and SSG looking strong, and then they didn't through the entirety of the year, and now we end the year, Nick, with TSM and SSG looking strong.
It is a bit of a classic, yeah, and when this TSM roster, this exact iteration came to light, most people are hyping up Snake as being this like incredibly talented mechanical player that would do the intro work for TSM, and he has done that job exactly, but a lot of people weren't really talking much about Gasher. It was a big question mark for this squad, right? An inexperienced player who hasn't proven himself before. He's going to come in and play this supportive / flexible role. What's he going to get done for this squad against the other teams in the NAL? Well, Gasher's performance has been extremely consistent throughout the entirety of Stage 3. And his opening game, in Stage 3 itself, he showcased that he has the skills to make the right decisions and position himself accordingly on the map against his opponents, and it's such an underrated skill set to have that I think TSM really needed. They needed a solid rock that can just time and time again, especially on the defensive side, just be alive and be put in those situations. For example, the clutch. And it's why Gasher has the highest cost. It's why he has the most clutches for his team, because he's continuously in those positions and then coming out ahead time and time again. Of course, it's Merc, then Gasher, then Bolo, then Snake, and Achieved having the from top to bottom, basically from the rating standpoint. Achieved is playing a dirty role, if you will, right? Doing the sledge work on attack, you're often gonna die to C4s, verticality, you're gonna get flanked, etc. So while Achieved hasn't been the statistical hero for his team, the value that he's bringing and the role he's playing nowadays on defense, playing a lot of pulse, playing more of a flex role on defense, it's just really shifted him up to have more things to throw at their opponents on various maps.
Absolutely correct. It looks like we've got everybody in the lobby, so we're just awaiting final confirmation before we get into the very first matchup of the day. Bank is where we'll be. How fitting. We are currently in Los Angeles, California. The map of Bank is located in Los Angeles, California. How funny is that? It's very funny, thank you.
Very funny, yeah, sure. Coincidence. TSM did play Sonics on Bank earlier in the stage. That was a extremely one-sided match for TSM, a 7-3 victory for them. But that was also arguably Sonics not playing particularly well, I would argue. Like, they were really just doing things that were questionable, kind of just running blindly into the building. I don't think Spacestation will make it that easy for TSM because they're known to make things difficult for their opponents in general. It's going to be TSM on the defense and Spacestation on the attacking side here on Bank.
Well, Jesse talked about it. Even though it is a small sample size, TSM have not dropped an attacking round over the last 3 games. They played 6 rounds on attack over those final 3 games prior to now. Well, guess what? They're going to get 6 rounds on attack to start things off with. Operator bans coming in. Nook is pretty standard stuff, but Buck to go as well, who will join on defense. Azami?
It's the Merc target ban. I mean, Merc really plays Vigil quite frequently on Bank. It's a very big
our monitors
map.
keep turning off.
And when he does it, it's commonly a problem for the attack inside. So
Literally,
a nice target ban for Space Station. Of course, the Buck, also very versatile operator. They can bring a secondary Heart Breach as well as the Gun 6. And Valkyrie to boot along, deny that information game for the defenders.
All right. That leaves Azami up. The way that teams like to trot out the Azami on a map like Bank. Let's look at the top floor and move downwards. Azami will likely have a very high amount of prominence, though TSM not bringing her immediately. You want to set up those Kiba barriers on the top floor, defend aggressively inside of that CEO office, maybe extend outwards, and then just bunker down. Waste as much time as you can. On the main floor, if you see an open area defense, you're going to want to do something similar, but you're actually going to defend that site itself. Additionally, if it is open area, you can employ that same setup with the Kiba barriers up top. We only talk about Azami because she is one of the newer operators and is picked substantially more than the other new ops that have been brought into play. Yeah. Sens might see some play here, though we don't know if they'll be used on that basement take. That's where teams seem to trot them out. Grim will likely not be seen.
No.
Let's, have you ever looked at his pick rate? It's Grim.
Yeah, okay. Sure. It is Grim. I believe it's been played once, maybe LATAM, once, maybe APAC, but we have not seen it in NAL that I can recall at least.
I think we saw Grim in EUL. For 1 round.
We might have seen it for a single round, but I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have not seen it in NAL, right? I really don't believe we have. I feel like I would remember.
Not that my stats would suggest. Very first defense for TSM is going to happen in the basement. Lineup from SSG bringing tons of tools, and this is a very standard setup now that Finka is not as prominent as she used to be. An early push in from square stairs, and Bolo now on the flank takes out Fultz and has another to do some damage, or at least a missed opportunity onto the Sledge, who doesn't seem to know that Bolo is still there. What is going on, Rampy? You got the call, but you don't seem to be any bit the wiser. Etrocell goes off. There's a minute burned off the clock, and already early action, but TSM coming out ahead, in large part because of those proximity scanners, as well as the Yokai drone.
I love the use of Yokais, the pulse in the room as well. The information game for TSM right now, they're just going to have so much knowledge as to where HSG will be attacking from. And with the clock burning down and getting the opening kill, they've basically already gotten all the value that they seeked with this setup.
Oh, and there's more scouting.
more.
No, 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 no! Space Station. Nobody is watching right now on this flank, and they're just feasting on them. SSG being punished across the board. Yeti, the star performer that we've talked about time and time again in a 1v5 with half of the round to go. I mean, you've got a good gun in your hands, but TSM, they got to know. He might just take a timeout here. It looks like that might be the case. Oh, a nice shot on achieved. He baits him out, but gets killed at the very final second. TSM taking round number 1.
That's beautiful. I mean, that round right there, if I were to like, what does that round remind me of? I want to say Rogue in the EOL/Rogue at the Berlin Major, because playing aggressively off the Yokais, on the doorway to Janitors, as we saw Merc came here with the flank, Bolo earlier as well up the square stairs, a classic situation. And the thing about Bank and attacking it that's so difficult is that you saw it right there. You walk in square and you're looking towards that Janitor hallway. Well, there's a staircase right behind you, and flank is open. The main stairs, the lobby stairs, there are so many different avenues for defenders to utilize to flank you. Normally, defenders will not play that aggressively because they do not have the information to make that decision. But with the Yokai and with the pulse on the board that we saw in that round, they have that information available to them, even though Valkyrie is banned. So it's a decision. Whenever you see these kinds of intel operators, players can go for those aggressive plays with confidence. Now TSM, they're changing things up, right? Now we're playing a more structured setup. We're playing deployable shields, playing the Midas, playing the castle as well to deny lines of sight. Gasher on the Maestro, bulletproof cameras that can deny and grant your team information as well. Changing the pace here. I'm sure TSM will still swing and play aggressive, so to speak, but this is more about HSG coming to them and now problem solving, more so than TSM trying to disrupt the roam clear like we saw in that previous round.
A single bullet from Yeti is what separated a flawless round, for the record.
Yeah.
Look at the cojones on Merc to castle off the double door leading to ATMs, exactly where Yeti was situated. The second too late, Yeti could have potentially capitalized off of that. Rampy cut down as he tries to rappel up the side wall. And now it's Yeti sustaining some damage. TSM bringing the fire to Space Station, and it will continue to get bad for that Space Station squad. As now they've lost Bosco to Bolo. There's over 2 minutes left. The pace that's being set from TSM. Excellent.
Yeah. And because Merc has barricaded both of those ATM doors, well, it was Yeti on the Dokkaebi, can't really do anything about those barricades, so he's forced to rotate off that entire area, as well as Merc getting a kill from lobby onto Sierra Pell. That means the entire push from Space Station now is shifted towards the square side of the map, the other half. But what are they going to do? You know, TSM, they have members in crucial positions, janitor hallways, stock wall, etc. They have their fortified positions, and SSG, they're scrambling around right now trying to figure out where they can find an opening, where they can find a pick. As long as TSM doesn't just run into their lines of sight, they're in such a stable position, there's almost no way for them to get pulled out of this position right now in the 3 versus 5.
Engagement from Hot and Cold, mag dumping as best as he can. Unable to sustain anything right now as Achieved will fire back. Again, Achieved's stats are not the greatest, so if he can stab out on his very final Playday, that would be excellent for him. Just for personal pride, I suppose. Hot and Cold in this very fabled spot of Archives, where he'd made some noise previously, shown in that clip earlier today during the pre-show of the Tokoname finals. Can creep on up. Gasher engaging, but Yeti gets one. That's the second kill for Space Station. Achieved lets him slip by. Right now, just under his nose. And pops up, but Achieved actually can't see him because of the debris. Bolo goes down now too, and Achieved still holding this same angle. Is his line of sight being obscured by the casing? That's the real question.
So 3v3 with 40 seconds to go, and Yeti in such an aggressive position, but TSM, they have no idea he's so deep in towards the bomb site already.
I can't believe how close Yeti is to Achieved. Fult's getting the plant down. Achieved pops back up. No coverage. Look at this.
Let's see him.
Fult's off of the diffuser. What is happening here? 30 seconds to go. Everybody's posted up, but they're waiting for the flank, and it's going to come in from Snake up top. Square stairs. Engaging. Wins the gunfight against Hot and Cold. Achieved was primed and ready to pick up on it. It's going to be Yeti to clutch. Fultz will continue to crawl to give information. I don't know if they are aware of Yeti's position in this corner, but there they go. They jiggle around it. Just too many bodies. 2 for Achieved in the final moments. And Space Station just waited a bit too long. War out there, welcome. And the welcome from TSM, not the one they were looking for. 2-0.
It's a nice opening that was found from Yeti to open up the round for them, but after that point forward, you're still in that 3 versus 4 position and things are dire. It's hard to get down the diffuser, and the post plant even more so is very difficult to win. Your flanks are opened up. When Snake successfully got that kill here on bottom squares, that's essentially where the round is over for SSG, as they are fighting now on both sides and fighting against the entire bomb side, the members of TSM. It's looking good for them so far. TSM having a great start to their first 2 rounds, and SSG, they're actually calling for their tactical timeout before round 3 begins. Catch it early. Figure it out. Reset. Could very well just be like a focus. It could be the fact that TSM are just catching you off guard. Maybe you prepared for something else gameplay-wise. Maybe you didn't expect the aggressiveness from them. Either way, now it's up to SSG, seeing what they have seen the last 2 rounds, to change around how they are going to approach this 3rd upcoming round, and of course the attacks to follow, to get some rounds on the board for themselves.
I like that you noted, get it out before it's too late.
Yeah.
And now we have a tech issue. So, okay, well.
We'll extend a little bit further, of course. The tactical timeout itself will only last for the 60-second duration or whichever. After that, the coaches can no longer talk, but the players can still talk amongst each other, of course, if they have anything to add or to go over themselves. And SSG, they're known in the past for not really calling their tactical timeout until it's way too late. So I'm very happy to see Liking being willing to call it early, likely seeing that something is off. He can talk it into his players. You see him calm and behind the players, he's just kind of going through it, explaining something with his hands. They're going up and down constantly.
Was it like the constant chatter online about the Lycan timeout?
The Lycan timeout, yes.
The Lycan timeout. Yes.
Yep. I kind of wish sometimes, with of course the permission of the players and the coaches, that we could get a little bit of an insight into what might be happening during these tactical timeouts, because I know fans and ourselves even as talent members, we always wonder what exactly is being shared, because every single team will go about it differently. Every single coach or member of the team behind the players will go about it differently, right? What the angle is to the timeout, what you're going to be saying, or what the expected outcome really is. Because it can be mental, it can be strategical, it can be a vibe or a mood thing, it can be to stop people from arguing or to start some conversations about what's going on, boys.
You and I in particular like to speculate as to what we think the purpose of that timeout is, because, I mean, you've actually sat in pro matches and had a timeout. I never have, obviously, so I am completely ignorant to it.
I mean, we should just fight, and then Shaz is like, stop fighting, boys. Get back in the game. I'm like, sorry, Shaz. Sorry, Dad. And then
fighting
we go
a team
again.
with Fabian on it? How strange.
How strange is that? Yeah, I don't know.
Never would have expected that. Either way. It's the slowest round that we've seen so far. 30 seconds and nobody's died. I guess that's a first.
Oh my god, Merc.
Merc's doing it again.
He's just barricading the door. They just open up that door as well. Just forcing out utility pieces here.
The stones on this man.
I mean, that is what Merc is known for. Merc wants 100% of what he can take every single time, and sometimes it's his downfall, but also sometimes he just gets away with it. He makes those high-risk, high-reward plays constantly.
The logic bomb would go off. Merc 3 kills, looking for more onto the window by Printer. Misses an opportunity. Spacestation will get away for free. Yeti entering downstairs, waiting for the EE1D, and a default cam could spot him. He's got a barricade to get through as well if he wants to head towards the bomb site. Teller's Archives, in case you're curious. The blitz on the board, coupled with a Lion and a Dokkaebi, could be potentially devastating. You'll get overrun as a defender, either pinned in position or put in a spot where the blitz will just run you down. This is a bit of an interesting hold by Merc, still killing as much time down there as is humanly possible. It's a smoke that goes off to obscure from the top, and, well, the proximity alarm is there. First pick for Space Station. That's the first time they've been able to accomplish it so far in this matchup. They've gotten rid of, achieved. Still 4 players from TSM remain.
I'm not entirely sure what Space Station's plan is with this blitz, but Honeymoon's just running on the entire map looking for something, doesn't find it. That's back to a 4v4, but a nice trade from Space Station as Yeti's there to pick up the pieces.
Oh, and he might actually be able to get something as he rotates around. Do you hear the shield just recharge?
Yeah, it recharged.
Even though Hot and Cold is dead? It's good to know that if somebody were to pick it up, not unlike Captain America's shield, or Thor's hammer, I suppose, finding a new master. They might be able to do some work, but no. Can't swap out your weaponry from a dead ally.
Not yet.
Final 40 seconds to go. TSM trailing in numbers. Space Station got the very first pick of the round. It's the first time they've done so. They have to translate that to this Teller's Archives bomb site. It's a nice shot from Bolo to chunk away at Bosco, but Bosco has the better angle and can march forward towards the bomb site. Final logic bomb goes out. Gasher under pressure on the stairs with Alda in hand. Swings around, but he can't outduel Yeti. 3 kills for him. Merc, the last one to hold down the fort. He might be able to beat Yeti. Nope, nobody's beating Yeti this round. A 4K for Yeti. TSM, well, their streak ends as SSG gets on the board with their first round.
There's not many people that can beat Yeti in general right now in the NAL. He is winning so many gunfights and so many rounds for his team. Remember those last Playday when SSD played Bang, Yeti just dropped the main Scala with a Lion Charge and like a finger stim and just killed like 3 or 4 people as well. He's finding so many good opportunities for himself and just winning them outright. Almost way too consistently. And it's nice to see because when Yeti played on Sonics, the playstyle and position that he was playing in was like way different. He would often be like the flank lurker on the attacking side. If there's 4 members of his team going on one angle, he would go and hit the back instead, and not only find a kill or 2 for his trouble's worth, but for Space Station, we're actually finding Yeti being almost the entry player for his team, having those early gunfights, and at the very least, if he's not doing the entry work, he'll be catching a rotation somewhere else on the map, and then once he gets inside the building, that's when he starts being the entry/second entry. And we saw it in that round. Hot and Cold stormed in with Blitz. He got shut down by Snake, but then Yeti is right behind him for that trade to even the numbers for a 1-for-1 instead of a 1-for-0. So it's really good value and consistency people are from Yeti from this Space Station squad. He's done great work for them so far, even in this matchup right now. 7 kills to his name. The second highest is going to be Bosco and Falls tied with 1 each. So there is definitely a kill leader on the squad. Third round, we are going to be going back to the basement.
It's the Yeti show today. That previous round, he entered through garage and then was stuck at the bottom of main stairs with, if you recall, that barricade that prevented him from going up farther, or at least without announcing his presence. And yet still, I'm amazed by how Yeti was all over the map at every single moment. When there was a bit of interaction for Space Station, Yeti was involved. And look where he's going yet again, taking the head off of Gasher inside of garage. And there's a phone for him to pick up as well. TSM losing their single player that was watching that avenue into the bomb site.
Look at the timing though. Essentially, SSG started applying pressure to the roaming. They waited for the yokai drone. IQ found the yokai drone. Immediately after that, Yeti applies pressure in garage, expecting that to be where Echo's going to be playing. Almost a bait and switch, if you will. And even if Yeti didn't get the kill, well, they got the roam presence. With this yokai falling early, the bomb site is now weakened. The roamers had to somewhat fall back, but a little bit more safe. And you're losing crucial information while Yeti's applying all this pressure from the garage. So now TSM, they gotta lash out and get aggressive, and if Merc does not win this gunfight, the round will be so much harder.
Yet he's still down here, still wasting time. SSG have not surrendered a single player just yet, but Rampy's in the middle of the bomb site. Unable to outduel Snake! A beautiful shot from him to get both, but Yeti has the backup yet again. Yeti is everywhere all at once. Both losses from TSM coming at the hands of Yeti, but he will be no more as Merc wins the engagement, and Yeti's 3-piece is denied. Bosco's in the bomb site, but they have to be wary. Is there a yokai drone in play? There's no echo, so he can't control it, but could still be watching them. It's a very exposed spot for Bosco to be in. You need Hot and Cold to cover. Merc's watching the doorway. There goes a flash in. Bosco might be able to get this down. Bolo and Merc both in similar position, but look at where Merc is posted up. He slaughters Bosco. Hot and Cold looking for his first kill. Gonna get it? No. Well, yes, actually, never mind. He does. He gets a cheat before he gets traded out. Merc has the final say. In that round, TSM goes up 3-1.
Yeah, looking good for them. And I mean, Spacestation had the opening, and then they went for this quick play, you know, storming into the A bomb side. It was just Rampy with no real backup to be had for the trade. But Snake hit a disgusting second shot from the bomb side right here. The one-tap, basically. The goodbye fadeaway towards Faults inside of servers. That really stopped SSG's initial push. And when you don't have 2 members alive, a plan cannot really be established because there are more than 1 angle to cover. You're basically gambling at that point. The TSM will belong to the round, but they don't.
Oh, you can't gamble. It's banned on Twitch now.
Only some things, actually.
Oh, okay. You don't need to take
Not
it.
everything.
Don't take it at face value.
Sure, sure. You know,
Was it a joke?
in Nordic countries, you can't even gamble with the points. You know, the polls? We can't. So we can't even gamble with the virtual currency either. Feels bad, man.
Who cares?
I would argue that almost every single Twitch viewer who would like to participate in polls and gain those sweet, juicy channel points would disagree. You know, in your chat, can you not redeem them for funny things? In your stream? Redeem channel points for a fun thing? That's what they're for.
I have been enjoying the finer things in life, aka not being shackled to my computer. So I haven't streamed in like 2 months. But
Okay.
no, I don't actually think I use my channel points for anything. I jokingly refer to them as paying union dues because, of course, we unionize my chat. This is going to be a quick one, by the way. 20 seconds off the board. There's an Amaru in play. There's a Ying in play. Look at that. Fultz is just in right now, but SSG are finding nothing for it. All the utility used for nothing. It's a bit anticlimactic. But Yeti continues. Breaks 10 kills. 11? Almost. Gasher taking a ton of damage. Cannot outduel him. Bolo on the stairs takes down Yeti. 10 is all he's going to get for now. Bolo repositions towards the Bolo shield. Over by stock and trading. Fultz was the real difference maker I felt on that top floor, but he couldn't find a single kill when he tried to Gara hook his way up. So instead it was go through the main floor. SSG now being very patient after their lineup screamed, let's get into the bomb site. They failed to do that. They lost their hyper carry. And now they'll try yet again, but it's Bolo still doing Bolo things. Goodbye to Rampy. Rampy was crouch walking his way through the lobby as Finka. That's not where you want to be. Tough nut to crack. Staff area. Candela's go in. Gasher, Blair Witching in the corner. Blinded for only a second. Outduels Bosco. Finish him off. It's hot and cold with 1 kill. He's got a lot of bullets. Oh, and he's going to keep going. He doesn't need to reload. He's still got 40 left. Where are they? Where's Bolo? Where's Snake? Hot and cold with diffuser in hand. He's had some huge clutches in this part of the map before. Oh, well, lightning strike twice. Different opponents. He gets a ping on one. Lined up, and he knew exactly where he was, but Snake wins the engagement. TSM are manhandling Space Station. It's 4-1.
It's a great start for Space Station getting into the building, but they really stalled out in the worst position possible. They were in that pinch where there are members of TSM above them, to their left, to their right, as well as in front of them. The only thing that wasn't really exposed was the flank from lobby, but if you stall out in a pinched position, you will naturally just slowly get choked out, and that's what we saw there. Bolo swinging main stairs achieved on that vertical, on the secondary pistol of Alibi up above. And then eventually when they walk towards the bomb site, well, they just have even more things to worry about. It's a nice clutch attempt for Hot and Cold, and he almost had it. I really wish he had stuck the diffuser there in hindsight to see what that post-plant 1v2 could have looked like, because his smoke grenade was about to fade and disappear, and that removes the option for him to really plant. So it was really a one option only to go. He didn't choose to opt for it. TSM looking mighty good in their bank so far. Final defensive round for them. Unless, of course, we enter overtime later on with a Space Station comeback. The thing about TSM is that they're essentially doing the same defending strategy on the bombs that they're defending twice. Basement, they aggressively roamed with the Yokai both rounds. SSG tried to play around it with that flank in the garage. They got the Echo kill. Round did not work out for them. Second time TSM defends the open area, they defended in a similar fashion. Once again, SSG, they changed their attacking strategy, and yet again, they do not find success on the adaptation. So Space Station, they need to try and find something that works, because TSM, well, even if they don't win the opening kill, they'll win the late and middle half of the round. You see, they gotta be more consistent throughout all 3 stages. It's a slow stage 1 so far, but they're entering towards the lobby side. Muncie from Hot and Cold is gonna be the main pushing force here towards the lobby side.
Looking at TSM's attacking ban of Nook, I don't think it's completely defanged Space Station, so we can't point to the operator bans as the culprit for why Space Station is stuck in the mud with these attacks. Poor drone work really was the story of the first 2 rounds, allowing TSM to just flank you, have their way with you on the back part of the map without anybody watching.
Yeah, get out of there. You don't want to stick around with the line of the Monty.
You got a Monty breathing down your neck. You definitely don't want to engage. Space Station getting into place. A bit behind the curve, though. They wanted to catch that relocating Snake, but no. Look at this, achieved with a jump out, and he gets it done. Run to the hills. Get back in if you can. Yeti has the refrag. It comes a little bit late. It's 11 kills for Yeti, half the round to go.
Yeah, we're still roaming to the top floor here. Remember, it's a Teller's Archives bomb site, so once Spacestation gets a hold of the top floor, the round gets a lot easier for them. Yeti with 2 on the round.
Could more be found here? Fultz in pursuit. Fultz and Rampy right now combining for just a single kill. Almost every single measure, nowhere near good enough for Spacestation. Thank goodness for Yeti. We highlighted his stats before we got into the matchup, how good he's been. Leading the way in most offensive categories. It's exactly on this role what you want from him. And he's still playing operators that shouldn't be the tip of Spacestation's spear, yet tends to be the sharpest of them all. The rest for this matchup currently dulled. TSM hear the warning bells as SSG inches ever closer. They decide maybe we should relocate. That was Bolo who went down to the bottom floor. Yeti still hunting from above. He and Merc in a collision course, and Merc tries to draw him out.
So well.
It's basically the equivalent of the bull kicking up the dirt before it charges. Merc taunting him, 20 seconds, time just flying by. Yeti gets Bolo on the flank, now he'll drop. Merc has looked elsewhere, they can't cover open area, down goes Gasher. Merc will need to do something, and the Monty's rushing in. Hot and cold with the pistol out, gets it done. The first half in the books. TSM absolutely needed that round to stay with it, or else TSM would have broken it open 5-1.
He's still clapping, he's still going. Yeti is in great spirits despite being down 2-4 in round gun. That's what I was talking about earlier, is that it just seems like if you have Yeti on your squad, it doesn't matter if the score is 0-6, you still have a way in this match in the mental game side of things at least. We saw Hot and Cold with a drop shot, hip fire, pistol, multi-kill at the end of the final kill cam. Beautiful stuff. See that in APAC from time to time again. Cyclops are known for their multi-play, and Hot and Cold took a page out of their book. Used their trick in the NAL.
The question that was asked is who is more likely to beat the Europeans at the major? It just says beat Europeans at the major. It doesn't say the Europeans, it just beat Europeans. As if like Yeti's gonna go there himself and just start kicking ass. Just an all-you-can-eat brawl. Who is it? Who do you think? Is it TSM or is it Spacestation?
Wow.
TSM fans showing up big. And I mean, they have every reason to believe that. TSM 6-2 so far. Both losses coming in regulation, but they have 6 wins in regulation. So they haven't dropped any points in the matches that they've won, which is,
They also haven't gained any points in the matches that they lost.
True. They lost 7-4 to Astralis and 7-4 to Xset, the 2 teams with red in their logos, funny enough. They beat Parabellum, though, of course.
Also, both teams didn't make a roster change.
Also true.
Also, yeah. Only 2 teams, in fact, that didn't in the NAL.
Not particularly close matches. 7-4 is not considered a close score by Rainbow Six standards. 7-5 is where you start to get into that close territory, and then obviously you have to go into overtime past that. If you look at Bank, the map, prior to today, it had been played 3 times in the North American League, and it is defender-sided. 59% of all rounds played here on Bank went in favor of the defenders, with the bottom floor bomb site of Lockers CCTV leading the way. 70% of the times that bomb site was played, it was won by the defenders. Same with open area, very, very close, 67%. So both of these are strongholds for the D. Things fall off a cliff after that. CEO, the bomb site upstairs, which TSM did not play, won 40% by the defenders. And then Teller's Archives, 33% by the defenders. And would you look at that cycle in the very first half, SSG on attack won both Teller's bomb sites. So lining up perfectly with what we see out of the stats here. Achieved, gunned down by Hot and Cold. He's trying to make some noise upstairs in staff area. Could not be done, and TSM suffers the first casualty.
Really caught in a bad timing, a bad swing there from Achieved, and he's had a decent game so far, but sledging this round was quite needed. The only explosive economy is in his pockets, 2 frag grenades. They're now gone from the table of option of use. No hammer, no verticality, not the biggest loss here on the basement bomb side of all things, but you are, of course, losing a full gun at your disposal as well. You got flank from mainstairs, you got to deal with servers or drop a hatch. You really want as much manpower as possible for this attacking round. And TSM now, they have to make a conscious choice. Do you go for the backside server take, or do you go for a frontal hatch drop? neither outcome right now with 45 seconds to go is a lucrative option. It's gonna be messy. They gotta win their gunfights. They gotta somehow find a way into this bomb site.
40 seconds left with 2 toxic canisters in his back pocket. Bosco can blanket most of these hatches. We'll just have to wait for TSM to arrive, though, as they're the ones who have the objective in hand. Gasher will be the one to escort the diffuser in. Just saw one. Oh, and he follows up, but he cannot outduel Yeti at all. Nice play from the Warden. Now it's Bosco to smoke off some more. Gets dropped on. TSM finds 2 kills their own. Bosco and Rampy in the grave. Yeti follows. Fultz and Hot and Cold are the last 2 standing for Space Station, but they've narrowed the numbers down to just Gasher. He's in the bomb site with the diffuser in the midst of the smoke. It's a long time to get the plant down, and it looks like they might permit him until Hot and Cold denies it. SSG take their very first defense, and again, vibes are high for Xander.
That they are. And TSM losing that initial member achieved, it might have made the round a little bit more difficult, as I mentioned, because they didn't have that final man count to help. I mean, if Merc wins his initial gunfight, followed by Gasher and Bolo's injuries, that round could also have gone differently. But being in a 5v5 there could be exactly the difference maker for TSM. But fortunately for Space Station, they did end up getting that opening kill, and they do end up winning that round as well. And now with them going top for the CEO, we will have seen all 4 bomb sites in play. And as you mentioned way back during the operator ban phase, Parker, Asami is now starting to get played more. TSM didn't really opt for this operator particularly on this map. SSG now 2 rounds in a row, both on basement and CEO. They've brought it. Rambi himself, who's on the Asami, is still looking for his first kill and get activated on this round. And for this round in particular, he's bringing a very important operator regardless of his scoreline, because the utility that Asami brings, both the barbed wire for the staircases, the keeper barriers for lines of sight to help teammates stay alive, are crucial to help alleviate any troubles that might come their way.
The same shield setup that we saw by this stock janitor portion of the map.
The Bolo
upstairs.
shield, you
The
call it.
Bolo shield. Well, it's a Bolo spot. The first time that we really got a good glimpse of it in North America, if I recall, was when Bolo was playing off of it.
He also
on
played
bank.
it so well, which helps us like remember that, right?
Well, I mean, I want to say that Bolo's played it well. I understand that shield is going to be hard to get rid of. You saw a couple magnets from Fultz get tossed out, but besides that, I mean, you're going to want to focus quite heavily on it. You leave some of the walls soft inside of that stock/trading room. Got an open hatch in janitor now, so you can go for the drop. Lots of ways to get out of dodge. And again, we'll get to see these Kiba barriers in action, as you pointed out, as Zami's pick rate slowly raising. Kiba barriers being used inside of CEO, as we've talked about. Create those lines of sight, force them to use explosives to cut through it. Losing this ledge early in the previous round was debilitating, because as you said, those are the only explosives available.
We're starting with the wall here. EMPs are trying to go out so we can deal with them. And the difference is for Thatcher is that the EMP grenades, they're not like impact based. Right? So you gotta bounce them off a surface and then get this this claw off the wall.
I think that might be a bit late. Yes,
close.
it is. And it blows up the claw in the process. It was about a hair off. Yeti, 14 kills through 7 complete rounds. An impressive tally. Utility play fell short from the Kaid that he's on this time. That's okay. He lets his gunplay do the talking. Rampy's still searching for a kill. Not the spot that you want a player to be in, especially when Rampy has tweeted quite publicly about the struggles that he's had so far this stage. It'd be far more damning if you didn't have Fultz, Hot and Cold, and Yeti there. And Bosco having a great bounce back stage as well. SSG showing off good depth. Usually if Rampy doesn't show up, the SSG of old over the last 2 stages, Nick, would have a lot of struggles, not so much this season because of the roster change and the rejuvenation that it seems to have provided to the roster.
TSM about to look for their first execute here, but that might also be their last. With 35 seconds left to go, Mirror Windows staring them down. Nice verticality here, good control from TSM, but the execute will win their first gunfight.
Oh, an answer back from Rampy, who gets his first kill, but that's all he's going to find for it. Bolo asserting himself on main stairs, out-dueled by Houghton. Houghton goes for the jump over, doesn't get it. Snake finishes him off. Fultz post up at the back of square stairs. Snake on very limited HP, walked away wounded from that battle with Houghton, but he's got very little left and decides to engage it. Fultz puts him out of his misery. If Achieved can clutch out, They'll continue TSM's lead. Fultz just needs to stop it to tie the game. And we're almost past the point of no return, as Achieved can't find him. 4-4 game between these teams. SSG's now won 3 rounds in a row.
Timeout really is seemingly doing some work. I mean, the success came way after the timeout itself, but SEC now have a grasp on what to do. And of course, they're also on the defensive side now, so things have changed up. But with the new struggles for TSM, it is their turn to call for their tactical timeout. And the one thing that's a bit of a downfall here, a possible downfall, is that because TSM is calling for their tactical timeout, that also enables SSG to have time with their coach to talk at the same time. So if SSG, they have something to say as well to their adaptation, what they can do going forward, they could counter, essentially, what Pojo might say to TSM on how they should change their things around to try and get some rounds back on the board. 4-4 tied-up series. Basement and C are both locked bomb sites, so we're going to go to Tellers or Open Area next, guaranteed.
I do like that we're starting to see more of the Azami being played, by the way.
Big fan.
I would like to see more Sens play, though I'm not sure if we're going to see them at all.
TSM, they have brought Sens once or twice. Chalet is to the map where they get brought the most. It's still a very situational operator, if you will, due to the nature of having essentially what is a smoke barrier with the gadget.
I mean, we go back and forth on what we're going to call it.
Yeah, we do.
To be frank, but
nowadays with the current meta, we do see more flexibility and aggressiveness. You know, if you want to pick an operator that is solely picked for the execute at the late half of the round, well, you might not get there right now. That's the thing, because if the roamers are playing aggressively into you, like we see from both TSM and SSG, that operator is never really going to see being played correctly, because either you're just scrapping things together, you're down a couple of people, or you've already won the round off the roam clear by finding 2 or 3 kills for your team. And it's why we see the Line, the Dokepi, the Jackal, you know, soft breach utility to just try and get these man advantages in throughout the round. Some teams, they opt for more what we call cheese operators, if you will, or gimmicks. You know, one-off shot like an Amaru Rush or a Blitz or a Munty, you know, individual rounds you can win off the back of a single operator. But Merc, he finds something called a Yeti. That is a big shutdown for TSM.
TSM being quick to punch on a couple of these rounds, and it obviously works out so well in their favor. Their offense sputtering a little bit, as again, it's 3 rounds in a row for SSG. Rampy only got a single kill in that previous round. That's all he was able to get. He misses an opportunity to do some more. Merc's gonna charge up, and he gets baited right in. Hot and Cold and Rampy collide with Merc and Achieved. TSM suffers a loss of 2. They burned a logic bomb in the process to try and aid their teammates. Weren't able to accomplish much with it. I like the gambit. I like the choice. Just comes up a little bit short. Also, worth noting, Yeti was the first domino to fall for SSG. It's been a pretty big domino, to be honest. He hasn't been able to find a kill in the last 2 rounds.
Still got 14 to his name yet. Gasher with a single bullet.
Ridiculous, by the way.
Will give away his position.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. Santa's had a great stage so far. I'm also very happy to see both of these teams, despite, you know, regardless of the outcome, both going to the major. I think the fans too are happy to see TSM back at international events since Invite, actually. It's the last time that they were showing up. Snake with a nice intro into Hot and Cold, gets some map control with TSM. However, this is that pinched position. This is not where you want to be stuck in. Bolo will hack the cameras and gain a bit of information as to where SSG might be playing, but they're not really opting for any information operators. No Maestro on the board, no Echo, so no real value being had here besides the default cameras, not even a bulletproof camera.
Talk a little bit about how their performance at the upcoming Swedish major, the other Jönköping major, Jönköping, will impact the SI standings, because neither of these teams are in a very healthy spot to make it to the 6 Invitational, despite them both being former champions.
I got you!
Scouting for where the offsite players may be as you get to the final moments of this fateful round. One of these teams will take the lead. Spacestation looking to take their very first lead of the match in what would be their 4th round in a row. They just need to patiently await these TSM players. Bosco gets slaughtered by Snake. Bolo joins as well. It's a quick one. TSM ends it before it even gets started and deny SSG a lead. TSM takes it right back. They let SSG have it for a little bit. They let them have the ball and run around with it. But at the end of the day, it goes back to its rightful owners as TSM now have their 5th round and are 2 away from putting this one on the books.
Upcoming round could be a massive one because SSG are most likely going to go back to that basement bomb site being the most defender-sided one. So it makes sense statistically to go to that bomb site. And TSM now, they can take it to match point for them, or Spacestation will tie it back up to a 5-5 round count. Last time TSM, they were not successful. They went for that backside hatch drop. They lost achieved early in the round. They played the entirety of that round 4 versus 5, and it still came down to a 1v2, so very, very close. Now, operator-wise, let's see if there's any attacker repicks coming out. Only a single Heartbreach currently. Ossa from Snake being hovered and considered. That usually signifies either taking Garage to get that long outside on the ramp with a shield, or it signifies going to servers and trying to opt for a plant instead on the A bomb side. And with only a single Heartbreacher on the board for TSM, that is the Thermite, well, you're not really going to be working off hatches because that is not what that operator is good for. That's why we're going to see Snake on the Ossa, heading towards that server tunnel.
A completely different lineup from what Spacestation brought when attacking this bomb site. SSG brought Hibana, Thermite, and Ace when dealing with this Locker's CCTV defense. Tons of hard destruction at your disposal. We did an interview ages ago with Slash when he said you don't ever want to leave both main hard breachers up. This was back when it was Hibana and Thermite, with Maverick as the complementary hard breacher. And Hibana was almost always a permaban for teams, if not the odd Thermite ban, because A, there were no secondary hard breach gadgets, and there was no ace on the board. Trying to defend this bomb site with multiple hard breachers open was an absolute nightmare. Not really the meta that we're in right now. Teams can just stack up, end up stacked to the gills with these hard breach gadgets, whether it be the actual operator or not. I'm a bit surprised to see TSM only bring the Thermite.
Yep, you have so many options and flexibility now with the secondary can openers. Of course, right now TSM, on their attacking side, they might just be wanting too many different things. So it's soft breach, the gimmick operator of the Ossa, smoke units and Dokkaebi in the roam clear of the phone call. And if you're stretching so thin, being good at every single scenario, well, you're not really going to excel anywhere specifically. So TSM, they will need an opening kill. They need to find ground here and take it from them, because forcing server against Bosco on the smoke is going to cost you either a lot of time, because 3 toxic bases have been spent essentially, but also you got the deployable shield staring you down on the entry. It's difficult to deal with. But also sees a bit of damage inside the servers. He's under fire.
Oh my.
It's close.
Now continue to try to fire away at him, but a single shotgun blast is enough to fell just about anybody in that position. Just trying to bide time. He's a bit too slow to unsheath the shotgun. Down he goes to Snake. TSM marches in. Folt still on the stairs, droned out. B-heads achieved. A pivot towards the bottom of those stairs. Bolo now on to the engagement with Hot and Cold, wins it. He can easily drop the hatch. SSG on the back foot. TSM look like match point is theirs. Got the diffuser going down. Maybe Yeti to the rescue. His first kill in 3 rounds. It comes on to Merc. But now you have to work against the clock. Volt still from above. They'll hear him drop. That 3 armor making so much noise from above. They also have Snake in position. Down goes Gasher. They didn't know that he was still up there. And now there's a smoke to cut off across if they drop. Yeti's on the diffuser right now. Do they know this? Fultz goes in. Yeti might be able to steal it away unless Snake can stop him at the last second, and he does. It's an all-out brawl with Fultz doing some serious work. It's Bolo above to save the round for his team. Explosion goes off. Fultz on the case. Bolo knows it. He's got the dirty dozen, and he'll break lucky number 13 with that kill. Match point, TSM.
What a chaotic round. And I mean, Gasher was throwing out that smoke grenade. At the same second he got shot in the head, it drops to the ground and it covers the diffuser case, and Snake realizes that his post-plant position, it actually wasn't as good as he thought it would be. And to add insult to injury, Bolo was up above instead of Archives looking for that final roamer, but there was no rotate between the Archives wall and the A hatch, so Bolo had to run all the way around. That's why Bolo wasn't there to help Snake in that 1 versus 2, but because Snake got that injure and got that kill onto Yeti, that bought enough time for Bolo to rotate to the hatch and get into the 1 versus 1, where he will find his round for his team. That puts TSM on 6-4 match point, and SSG, they're gonna go up above, back to that CEO bomb site. They're gonna bring the Mira and they're gonna bring the Warden, and Mira is a bit of an optional operator for this bomb site. I will say I think it's a very strong one, but the Warden is a must pick. Otherwise, a single smoke grenade, a Ying, Candelas, flashbangs, etc. will just blindside you on the bomb side, and it really opens up the possibility for attackers to plant very easily and just play off that window rappel once that diffuser is posted down. So I like this setup. It's the same one we saw the last time SSG defended, and last time they were here, they were in fact successful on that defense. TSM attacked from lobby primarily. They got picked off guard. Didn't really find the picks. Didn't really work the windows that much either. They were struggling with those EMPs, if you recall. Bolo has opted for Twitch instead. Those Twitch drones now have an infinite range on the drone, which means if there is a jammer or a kite or any wall deny, you can easily take care of it. But there's none from SSG this time around.
Fateful round for Space Station. Both teams sit with a similar scoreline in the standings, despite the fact that TSM did enter the day with 2 points more than Space Station had. If this went to overtime and Space Station won, it would not be enough to catch up to TSM. Space Station needed to win outright in order to surpass TSM in the standings. That will not happen. So irrespective of what occurs in this matchup, it'll be SSG finishing second. I mean, obviously, it would have to come down to round differentials there, I guess, in the head-to-head. But if SSG wins in overtime, they finish at 18 points. TSM still picks up 1 point, finishes at 19, so there will be no tie. TSM will finish first in the North American League. Now they sit on match point. That must be an awfully nice feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the standings account for the prize pool that we see for the regular stages. Additionally, SI points. And then it also helps in the draw for the groups.
Oh yeah, I mean the groups thing is the biggest thing. Like seeding is what teams care the most for because the major is what it's about.
Well, SSG, they start off this round quite strong. Even if their ultimate goal of finishing first in the North American League is now out of reach, they can still play for bragging rights. They lose hot and cold. The F2 in the hands of Bolo. He's one behind Yeti. It's a battle of the Titans, but Snake with 12 kills, Bolo with 14, Yeti with 15. We are seeing individual heroics right now from the players that you expect to be climbing the standings. The smoke goes off, Bolo runs up, Yeti to outduel him, 16 kills for Yeti. More onto the shoulders of TSM as they now trail in terms of man count. Merc will take the next engagement all the way up to the top and loses the duel to Yeti. How is Yeti getting away with these? They knew he was in the elevator. Still couldn't accomplish anything. Achieved and Snake are the last two standing. SSG want to push this one to the very final round, but Snake has something to say about that as he finds two but can't get past Bosco. Achieved only to find two of his own to put this one away. Is it possible?
15 seconds remaining.
Clock working against him. SSG standing pat, and it's a crossfire from Space Station. It guarantees us all 12 rounds. Overtime, we're 1 round away from it.
Getting close. TSM, same story both times on that top floor attack. They're caught sprinting into gunfights, essentially on that red stairs from lobby. It was Merc the first round, then that previous round, well, same exact story. We're sprinting up, we take a gunfight, we fall in the midst of it. Bolo this time was the first to fall, Merc followed second. But no trade game here from TSM, no real problem solving of key positions, like for example, if Yeti is inside the elevator, there's a hatch you can work with from below, soft destruction, grenades, flashbang, smoke grenades, so many different options. But instead, they're just kind of rushing through it. Time for the attackers also running really low on some of these rounds, executing the last 30 seconds or so. And Bang is a big map. You gotta take your time to go through the motions, but sometimes you take too much of it, well then you're rushing into decisions toward that later end. Now we're gonna see TSM, for possibly their final time, attacking the basement. Things that have changed up. Yeti's on the Warden, can see through smokes and flashbangs, can play out of server stairs on the side bomb site itself. Rambi bring that Kaid, trying to deny hatches if they were to try and get breached from TSM side. TSM, they answer back. Snake on the Thatcher. That's going to open up the possibility to counter the Kaid if it gets used. TSM, they do have 2 hot breaches, Thermite and Hibana. This signifies a roam clear strategy for them, but there's no Dokkaebi, there's no Jackal. So if SSG were to roam, which it's just Yeti right now in open area, that could be a way to shut TSM down. They don't really have the tools to deal with it. Space Station, they also understand the bomb set is strong. They got 3 C4s, 3 Toxic Babes. They got Goyo, Vulcan shields. They have so much plant deny. If Yeti can just buy a minute off the clock with this roam inside of open area, that might just be enough for them to burn down the time of a TSM.
Well,
It's a quiet
from
one.
above, very quiet round. Not as much on the line as there was 2 rounds ago. SSG cannot finish first in North America. So this is just simply for posterity. TSM will gain a single point, go to 19 points. That puts SSG out of reach, just like Fultz thought he might have been out of reach of the nade that Merc drops right into his lap.
Yeti fell back to bump set as well.
Yeti's escaped back downstairs. Snake on the hunt. That's it for Yeti. 15 kills for Snake. Bosco sends him into the dirt with a single blast from the shotgun. Nice back and forth. And an excellently quick entry from TSM after those first 30 seconds went by to confront the Kiba barriers that are up. And now's the time that you want to start getting this hard destruction down. Put pressure on the defenders by removing those hatches and make SSG guess as to where you're going to drop from.
Snake had a lot of fun with those openings and just stormed down the main stairs. The thing is, Vantage being off the board might not be the end of the world. I don't believe the kite calls have had any effect so far in the round, so that might be a done deal. But still, now TSM are taking their time and slowing things down because they don't want to throw this lead.
Oh my, no, you see
Free.
it. That's a freebie for Bolo onto Rampy. Back turn. Terrible game for Rampy so far. Bosco now down as well. It's all on the shoulders of Hot and Cold, who's got a great angle. But Gasher sends SSG home with a loss. And TSM in regulation pick up all 3 points as they win the North American League Stage 3. Woo! TSM, TSM, TSM. Why are you chanting for them? You don't play for them.
No, that's like what the crowd would say if there was a crowd.
Of course.
Right?
If there were a crowd. But there isn't. TSM go home happy, all 19 points. They finish this stage 7-2. Spacestation picks up their 3rd regulation loss. Both teams are going to go to the major either way.
Yes.
But it's TSM with the bounce back performance. They started the year winning the 6 Invitational, becoming world champions, but then had a bit of a problem doing anything through the mid-rounds or through the midway point of the stage. I'm so baked into the language of the round that I still want to keep using it. Stage 1 and Stage 2 were disappointing for both Spacestation and for TSM, but both teams bounced back towards the end of the year. Still a long shot for them to make it to the 6 Invitational, but we know that they will start the year on Swedish soil and they will end the year on Swedish soil as they're going to be going to the major next month.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. Both TSM and SSG have done well internationally in the past, and I think they'll represent North America greatly in the future to come.
Our next match is going to be thrilling. Mirage versus Sonics. Both of these teams are currently sitting in a playoff spot for the major, but Astralis is nipping at their heels. The winner of the next match guarantees their spot at the major in November. The loser could still qualify.
Yes, technically.
It just depends on whether OXG plays spoiler to Astralis' impressive comeback. But we got a break ready for you. We'll toss that and then we'll come back with the rest of our final Playday.
love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ayy, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a limitation. Hate applying my elimination. Gotta go to Google for the information. I'm a superstar, so I gotta shine. Top dollar be the bottom line. Bottom feeding out of line. Turn your heart rate to a dotted line. Yeah, my zodiac probably dollar sign. Got the energy to win it, I'm feeling great. Got a date with destiny, focusing on my fate. I don't give a what you rapping, you been a fake. I'm everything that they ain't. It can't be, it won't be. Wanna see me fall, I can't go, I won't leave. Coming from the block with plain clothes and police. Straight up to the top with bankrolls and rollies. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Your host, Doa here, along with Caliber, Jacob, and Jesse, J. Chick, and over, far away in the distant, much, much warmer land of Las Vegas, we have Gasher waiting to chat with us about that last map. Congrats on the win, and kind of congrats on the stage. It's been your first stage in the NAL. It's been a very successful one with TSM. First things first, kind of give me your stage in review. How's it been for you these last 5 weeks, Gasher?
It's been a blast. I mean, playing Siege and winning, it's a pretty good combination, so I just had a good time out here.
Gasher, I want to dial in on that game a little bit more because you had some fantastic Echo plays to start off this matchup. Can you dive in a little bit about how you like to use that Echo and kind of the advantages and disadvantages between using it aggressively like you were versus kind of holding it back for the plant disables and such?
Yeah, I mean, today we were just play aggro. So I mean, my point of view is like, if I was the guy getting droned in, I'd like to play like a freak. So I like droning people in so they can be freaks. So I just make sure I give boys info, and anytime I see an opening, I just say, "Yo, do this," and then they do it. And obviously, my team is really good mechanical skills. So like, even if I don't get the best information, 99 out of 100 times, I usually can just still get a kill. So.
From the beginning of the stage to how everything has clicked so far, you've got all 9 games under your belt right now. But specifically when you started versus how you've ended the stage, what do you think has been the biggest thing that you guys have been able to improve on, even just in a very short 5-week time span? If it's in games, if it's scrims, what's the biggest thing you're noticing from the beginning of the stage to now?
I mean, just chemistry. I think it's kind of the obvious one. Like, obviously, when you come into a new team, you have to get used to one another, and you have to understand who plays how and who likes to go where, who likes what up, who likes, do people like pushing, they like hiding, they like playing crosses, they like running at people, etc. So, I mean, it's maybe just we've gotten used to one another, and I think now it's like we just gel really well. We all have a similar kind of mindset of like, we all want to fight people, and it just has been working really well for us.
Yeah, absolutely has been. #1 in NAL at the end of the stage. Congrats again. Good luck in the major, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you.
All right, one of the fresh faces of TSM, it is Gasher, coming in, having a great stage 3, helping TSM getting that 7-5 win.
Yeah, and huge impact from him. I know he's only 3-9. I don't care. The impact he was finding from intel, gathering from his team, from being able to support them with the calls, was hugely helpful for TSM to make them win this match over Spacestation. A game where really both teams went to a tightened map for them. We were worried about some of the stuff Spacestation might have been able to pull off, but TSM, with very smart slight selection, avoiding that Ying pick that SSG loved to bring out against some of their older opponents. Beautiful game played by TSM, and a strong secure of the first seed in North America.
Yeah, I was about to say, dead last in stage 1, 8th place in stage 2. Suddenly you get 2 more rookies on that squad and you shoot directly to the top. The world champions, in some small way or another, are definitely back in the fold. They're not confirmed for anything just yet. They have only got the major on the horizon. They are not in SI territory quite yet. But the fact that you made such a quick turnaround on a change that drastic when you had so much veteran power on that team from before, I'm sure Pojo and the core of that TSM team are feeling amazing given how this has worked out.
Yeah, and they've got a shot. They're definitely far from guaranteed to getting a chance to go back and defend that title at SI next year, but at least they've put themselves in a position where you could see the squad doing it, you know?
They probably need to win. They probably need to win the major, but this team, they could win.
It's possible. Well, let's kind of break down why that is. And the first thing we'll do is have a telestration segment from Jesse. So head over there. Tell us a little bit about round one.
Well, I would love to, because we were talking about the intel gathering coming in from Gasher. We were talking about the impact that the Echo was having in this game. And I really want to show you just one of the most amazing examples of aggressive yokai usage that I think we've seen in Rainbow Six in a long time. First of all, note it pretty simple. Right here, you see the yokai currently inside of janitors. Most of SSG, they're kind of coming in through square. They're going to jump in, try to clear the top floor. It's a basement take, of course, simple stuff. But I want you to really focus in on how the yokai drone dodges the other drones by the attackers and how it slips past all of them. You see Bosco's drone there coming in through square. It gets up behind, it jumps up, kind of hidden in the corner here, so that Bosco's drone completely misses it. Now as we play this clip once again, obviously that information getting called. If we hit play here, what we'll see is with it, there we go, coming through, the players push inside of the building, the yokai spots him, zaps him, and then where does the push come? There's nobody coming in through janitor. There's nobody coming down the hallway or coming in from stock. It's the least likely place for a defender to push you, given that yokai information. It's up the square stairs. And it gets caught beautifully by Bolo, who takes advantage of this. Not ready are Spacestation Gaming. They fall to that clip. And it's not the only time we see in this game the yokais come in helpful. Of course, Bolo knows he doesn't have to get both those picks because the yokais still exist upstairs. We're going to see it right here. Rampy, of course, trying to survive. He's got a pulse down below him, also feeding even more intel to TSM, but wait for it. Here comes the second clip with the yokai, okay? He's got to get on his drone. We wait for the yokai to come on through. Meanwhile, we are still seeing kind of achieved down below, killing some drones himself, limiting that information from the attackers. And once we actually get back to this top floor, you'll notice the yokais coming back forward. There it is, right on the ground. Merc pushing in, the pings come through, and he cleans up on that. We see how consistent this yokai information is. Again, it's not gone. Bolo's up there now, swinging in on the doorway. We see another kill happen, and it's all of a sudden a 1v5. And yeah, he'd get some kills here at the end there, but they are relatively impactless. So really impressive stuff coming forward from Gasher and the rest of TSM to be able to clean up on some of those picks. Thought that was amazing play coming in from him, and not something you might see represented on the stat line.
And how much of that was the same similarity we saw to the Sonics game? Do you remember when they just weren't allowed in the building at any point during that matchup? It felt like every time they tried, they would get swamped. TSM have several people in places for the immediate roam clear stoppage. As soon as it happens, it felt like it was much the same case here. It wasn't the 5-1 half that we saw in that Sonics game, but it's still 4-2. SSG did not have a streak on their attacking half, which was the thing I figured was probably going to be the catalyst in this game. Turns out I was right. Jesse, your predictions, I don't think they're getting at like below 50% at this point. I don't see it happening. I think he's stuck down there for good.
He had to go to the predictions. He had to go right there, didn't he?
And I want to credit still SSG. They adapted really well in round 4 because they brought in that yokai, right?
Sure.
That's the key kind of operator you're going to get to counter that type of defense that TSM were bringing. And they won the early round. They actually did a really good job adapting. They did end up throwing the execute. They kind of rushed in a little bit and lost some gunfights. But all in all, I think that was still a really impressive defense and a bit of a counter from Spacestation.
I think they're going to stay in first place on defense after this because they were so high up. I think they're going to maintain that for the whole year. And funnily enough, I also think SSG's attacking stat doesn't actually change all that much, if at all. Even if they only won 2 rounds, that's still pretty in line with what they had coming into this game. So
yeah, I mean, SSG been playing well all stage for sure. Our second round kind of has a little bit of that, round number 10, but then we do have TSM able to kind of scrape things together and get the round back.
Yeah, round 10 here coming through. It's going to be one of these rounds that TSM, of course, they've got a bit of an advantage. They get the plant down. They're feeling pretty good about themselves, but this almost slips away from their fingers. Of course, they've got Faults upstairs, and Faults typically isn't going to be in a position to actually stop this. He'll get this 1 kill, kind of in a bad spot is Gasher. He just planted the kit, but the other 2 players, really strong spots. Bolo's going to flank upstairs, try to take that fight. Snake's holding from the server, but these smokes being thrown in by Snake, they actually give Yeti a huge advantage. That said, Snake gets forward, gets the kill, massively important. And I actually think Faults could have won this. He pops the Vulcan so he can't get pushed from server. He just doesn't realize that Bolo is still upstairs. He has no idea he's going to come down main, he's going to come down server stairs. Tries just to stick. Probably the right call, but just so difficult in that position.
It's played really well. The only cue he has when there is the counter defuse attempt going off in the smoke is just the sound cue. And that's even with the Kaid trying to play chicken around the bomb chassis, if only for a split second, to just try and keep his attention focused on him as opposed to the guy who's attempting the counter defuse. It's just one of those things, like it's just a Siege timing moment. You're going to see so many of those different instances over and over again in Siege. And when you see pro players gutting it out against each other like that in such a high stakes situation, it's one of the best things you can see in this game.
I love it. It's tons of fun, but we are far from done with the fun yet today. TSM may have won game number 1, but our second game is going to be a huge factor in deciding what the other two teams going to Sweden from NAL are. It's going to be Sonics taking on Mirage for a spot in Sweden. When we come back, don't miss it.